We're going to get started early without having to waste too much more time. So, hello everybody. My name is Ethan Pressberg, and I am your regular MC for the weekly live stream. And I have with me today again Manuel Navarro, who is our ambassador of adoption. I think that's your how you go by, right? You're
Yeah, kind of.
the adoption ambassador or something like that. Yeah. Anyways, I'll let you talk about yourself in a second. So today we're going to be starting with it's going to be actually Manuel's show. So I'm just gonna, like I said, hand it off, and Manuel, take it away.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you very
Thank you very
much.
much.
So
So
yes, so
yes, so
just to present myself, my name is Manuel Navarro. Some people maybe have seen me before in other lives, in other presentation. I've been working for Process Maker about 5 years ago, from about 5 years ago. And guys, when I start Process Maker, I start as a solution or an architect consultant, right? We try to stick this technology with many elements. We were developing a new version. 5 years later, we have been going through many areas. We have been going through sales. We have been going through product. We have been going through many battles, and it's very interesting to see how the automation technologies are evolving and how our platform evolves with it. And today we're going to have a look on something that is pretty interesting, which is our decision table feature. This is one of those features we get into the latest version of the platform, and we're going to see it in action with a classic process, which is that process, the vendor onboarding process. So a vendor onboarding is kind of a common process on any procurement solution, right? You need to get your vendors within a process where you need to confirm elements such as documentation. You need to approve those vendors. You need to go for a risk assessment, and even though you would like to give them some kind of access to your own systems in order to seamlessly integrate uh, with their um, with their production chain, right? So the idea is always to get closer our supplier to make our products, to deliver our services better and better. And in order to do that, one of those elements that are always required because are important for regulations, because are important for compliance, because they are always time saving, is the risk management process, right? So any vendor onboarding that you are going to have into the company, it has to go for a compliance and risk analysis, right? You don't want to get any kind of or anyone without a check-in into your company. And we have gone through this in the past. We have created for you guys here in the templates gallery one of those processes, or this vendor onboarding process, for you to just download it and run it within your instance. So the vendor onboarding process has all these steps, the steps that we just mentioned. Let me just zoom in a bit of this. Look at this one. We are approving terms and conditions of a new vendor onboarding. We're sending some email to the vendor in order to fill their form. We someone review the vendor, and someone is executing a vendor risk assessment, right? So the process is there. But the coolest stuff with the new version of the platform, or with the newer version of the platform, is that we have something called the decision tables, right? So, and in this step, at this specific step, this is always something that we want to mitigate the risk, right? So, at this moment, this is a task that is being performed manually, right? The template gives us an option, a manual option to someone to log in, to get in, and manually approve and reject when someone if someone has gone through a risk review and passed the threshold that we have decided for it, right? Usually risk management is always about the threshold that you decide to accept the risk or not, right? How much are you willing to pay for it? So here we have a manual task. We want to get better. We want to go faster. We want for a process which is that is important, the efficiency. You want to go faster. So for today, we're going to show how we can add in here a business rule, right? So anyone can take this process and automate it in a better and simpler way, adding a business rule engine where they can define whether to approve or deny one of these vendors, right? So we are basically getting into the automation part with just one simple task, and we're going to see it how we usually do it in a company here in Process Maker. So what do you need to do to modify this template to get into the business rules? You just need to click on template, download it, right? And get into your instance. Let me just go in here, sorry. And in the designer tab, you're gonna find a tab that's called templates. Here you can import it, the template, and then boom, it's gonna be part of your a process maker instance, right? Once the template is installed, you can come here to process and click on process, and there you're going to find all the templates that you have installed and that are available for you, right? In this case, if we look at vendor onboarding, right, we're going to find here our vendor onboarding, right? We have a couple of versions here. This is the latest one. So you're going to find the vendor onboarding in there, right? Just click on it and create a process, and it's going to display the vendor onboard process. So let's have a look on that process. I just have it in here, right? So the process is going to be ready to go and ready to use, right? But we want to go a step further. We want to show how we can modify this template, how we can improve it, how we can go beyond the elements that we are giving in these templates, right? So we want to add one of these steps. So a good practice that we um, go on these kind of things in a company is, if you want to add just a small bit of element, or if you want just to modify a version of the process, try to replicate that small section in a small process, right? So you can play with it, you can have a look on it, you can test it, you can run it, and once it's ready, then just apply it, right? Because otherwise you will need to go for testing all those steps that we have previously. So let's do that, right? So let's try to replicate something like this, pretty simple, and in one process, right? So I'm just gonna create here a new blank process, right? I'm gonna call it the test decision tables. I'm going to put a version 2 because I have a previous version, right? Before jumping into this, we did some testings. So I'm going to put the version 2. And here we have it, right? And I'm going to create a simple process, right? I'm going to recreate this small section that I have in here, right? So I'm going to click on the start event. I'm going to click here on the task that I'm going to perform, a gateway for an approval, and a couple of events, right? So those are the basic elements. Definitely let's make it organized. Let's put it in a pool, right? Just to be tight and clean on this, right? So let's create a task. Oh, sorry, and I'm missing something really important, the decision table. And then we will create a process. We will go for here. Decision task, right? The gateway, because we're gonna make a decision based on on that one, and then we will go through it, right? And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a vendor risk assessment task. I'm going to say vendor risk assessment, right? This is the vendor risk assessment task. And look at this one. Here I have a screen is called vendor onboarding risk review number 2, right? This is the vendor onboarding risk review number 2. So I'm gonna go here in the designer. I'm gonna create a new one, vendor risk review. I think it's vendor risk review. No, sorry, it's sorry, vendor onboarding risk review. Vendor onboarding risk review. Vendor. I'm gonna look for sorry, this is process. I'm gonna look for the screen to replicate it, to create a new screen, right? So this is as well a good practice. If you want to modify something, you just can clone it. It's pretty simple. Look at this. This is the risk review number 2, right? So I can just clone or copy this screen. I'm going to say risk review decision table. Then that's going to be duplicated, right? So once I have it duplicated, look at this one. Here I have my screen. There I have my process, right? I am almost ready to rock and roll on this. So vendor onboarding risks. This is the name. The risk review. I'm just gonna publish just to don't lose my job. And let's jump on a screen and let's see how the screen looks, how this step specifically looks, right? So in this vendor onboarding, you're gonna have this vendor risk review screen, right? Here you have basically all the summary of the vendor information, the company profile, the vendor background, the vendor documents that are part of the request, right? The commercial review, all the different comments, and risk review screen, right? So look at this one. We went from a huge template, right, that has many elements. We didn't need to go for each of those steps to fill the information to do this modification. What we did was just extract what is required to do the job, right? So we just extract this screen. So we are testing it right now, and we can create this small testing process. How this screen works, let me show you. Basically here, we're selecting the level of risk that you are foreseeing from this new vendor, right? And the screen is calculating the risk score for this, right? In this moment, you have a past excellent risk score. Or if you start going low on their scores, so if you have seen there is a high risk on this vendor, look at this one. It's kind of doubtful, right? So we really want to automate. We really don't want to pass things that are doubtful, right? We really want to be careful on which is those vendors that we want to um, accept within the company. So this is where the business rules comes, right? So here I'm doing the assessment because this is the kind of task that a person can do. And then the decision task, the decision table is going to decide which is the threshold that is acceptable to get this vendor into the company, right? So this is the new feature that we have, decision tables. And maybe for some of you guys that knows our platform before, you have seen it. We have the business rule engine before, isn't it, Ethan? We have it in process maker version 3, right? So we have
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So we know how to
exactly
do it.
exactly we know how to do it. And in this new version, look at this one. We have the same one. We have the decision table, right? Even cleaner. Here you can, here I just pre-configure the vendor risk assessment. I'm pretty simple. I just add, if this is above 3 or below 3, you can approve or deny it. Maybe if you want to add more elements in here, for example, if you want to add in here another variable that if it's above 4, but it's from these industries or for this specific sectors, it can change. This is pretty common, for example, in banking, in finance institutions, that based not just on the risk as well in the industry, you accept it or pass it. Or even in higher education, when you are assessing someone, it's not just about the risk score, it's about all the different characteristics that are around. So here you can have as many inputs as you want to evaluate within the business rule. So look at this one. You can add as many variables. You can compare versus strings, time.
Looks like we're having technical difficulties. I do apologize for this. If you will just give us a moment, maybe it's just a matter of rebooting his screen, but let me just see. I'm not sure if he's probably continuing and talking to himself, knowing him. Okay, there we go. Now he's back.
Here I am. Thank you.
Okay, there we go. We got you back. That happened last time. I'm glad we've somehow figured out how to make this not a problem anymore. Let me just add your screen share back. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, awesome. And let us resume. Sorry about that.
No, perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. So yeah, so for today, just to keep it simple, let's add the basic rule. In the next session, we can add more elements. Just let's create some basic element on it. Let's make it run and let's add it into a template. So it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna work pretty neat. So here we have the decision table, the vendor risk assessment, a simple risk score and a risk level, either to say deny it or approve it, right? So we have a identify here in the gateway. So we're going to say when risk is equal.
Not sure what's going on with him. I am terribly sorry, folks. Talk about technical difficulties, am I right? But I see he's reconnected once again. Oh, nope, lost him. Appreciate your patience, folks. I promise it'll be worth it. Worth the wait. Just give it a moment. And yeah, Manuel is showing us about PM templates, which is one of our latest features in our latest release. And we have him back. He's now joined us once again. Not sure what keeps happening while we keep losing you, but you're back. Okay. Great.
Perfect. Thank you, man. Thank you very much. And thank you for your patience. So, yeah, so what are we doing right now? We're configuring, right? We're configuring our expressions in the gateways so we can take the decision that the decision table made based on the variables, and then we're going to test if it's accepted or rejected, right? So we create just a small bite of the process to test it, and then we're gonna we're gonna put it in the process, and we're gonna see how it works, right? So I'm just gonna say deny it, right? So this is when you say no, and this is the decision. We're gonna say here that this is a yes. Sorry, this is a yes. Proof, deny it. Let's confirm, approve, deny it. Yes, this is the decision table. This is how it should work. That's perfect. That's good. Let's configure the decision table. So here, these are the elements that are important to understand in this new feature. So for those who are new on the decision tables, I'm pretty sure most of you haven't seen this before. This is a brand new feature. So we are gonna get just about 2 or 3 weeks with it up and running. Here, the first element that you need to know is when you add the element, you need to select the table or the decision table that is going to be part of your process. In this case, here we have the vendor risk assessment, right? And then I'm going to save it in here. And here we are doing basically the configuration of the data that is going and coming from the decision table, right? So for example, in the request variable, this is where we are going to get the variable that we want to evaluate within decision table, right? And so how is that variable called? Let's go for the screen. Let's have a look on it, right? And here we have it. This is a risk score. And why do I know that this is called risk score? Let me show you these guys. Here you have a data preview. This is in all of our screens, right? So you can see here all the factors, all the elements that are part of the screen, right? So if I have a look on it, here I have, this is the risk score. I can see the 2.4. This is the data preview. And as well, if I go here to the design and I can step on the screen, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna find it. And it's gonna call risk score. So let me go here. This is the vendor risk tab, right? So I'm gonna click on it just for you guys to let you know. I'm gonna scroll down. Look at this one. This is all our elements, our drop downs, and the other part of the screen. So I'm just gonna show it to you in a minute. And look at this one. This is a risk score. Here we have our variable. So this is the variable that we need to get, right? The risk score, and the risk score is gonna go through this, right? It's gonna evaluate this column. So I'm gonna take this one in the where I have my process. Here I have my process. No, this is my process. Sorry for that. This is the risk score, the required variable, and the table. It's called the same risk score, right? So just keep in mind that you need to match both elements: the variable, the source of the information, and the variable in the decision table. You're just gonna click on save. And then here I have a response mapping. So the response mapping is basically once you have executed the decision table, what is the response on it, right? So if you have a look on it, here we have the risk. This is the risk variable. So this is the one that we want to map out, and we're gonna save it in the same variable. Right? So I'm just gonna take this one. I'm gonna save here as risk, and look at this one. Here you have it. If you click on yes, you're gonna find in risk as approved and risk as denied, right? So this is pretty much configured. So we are just missing one element, which is very important. Let's set up some permissions on this so we can test that. And there is no problem with it. I'm just gonna set up this for the admin user. I'm right now as an admin. I'm gonna publish this one, right? I'm going to confirm the permissions on the different tasks. This is always a good practice, guys. As a test, we're just going to leave everything on admin to make it simple. Here we have it. This is my task. And if I click on the assignment rules, here I have, this is the request starter. So just a glimpse of this specific feature. In assignment groups, we have a whole variety of, a huge variety of elements. So you can assign by users, by group, by the previous task assignee. You can have rule expressions, right? More rules for you to not having to go for coding. You just add your rules in order to select who is the one who is going to be executing this task. At this moment, we're just going to leave it as it is. The one who requires the task is the one who's going to kick off this specific task just for testing purposes. I'm going to save. I'm going to publish, right? Let's give it a run. What do you think, Ethan? Is this something that will run in a first try? What do you think?
You know, I want to be positive, so I'm going to say yes. I think I have confidence.
Perfect, guys. The ones who are seeing us, what do you think? Is this something that is going to run in the first try? Let us see your love, please. So I'm going to click task decision tables version number 2. I'm going to click on it, right? And the first thing that has to appear in this is basically our vendor screen, right? So without the information of the vendor, because we just extract that specific screen. So right now, we just kick off that process. Here we have the first task, vendor risk assessment.
So to be clear, which part are we betting on that it's going to work?
We want to test that the risk that we calculate is evaluated for the decision table, so you can see that the flow goes either to accept or reject automatically.
Okay, got it.
Perfect. So that's pretty much what we do. We want to remove a manual task, which is right now what is happening. You are selecting if it's approved or reject, and then you're gonna create an automated task that is gonna evaluate what is going to be the risk assessment. And this is part of the independence of the auditors, and specifically for risk auditors, right? This is the kind of thing that you are always looking for. The one who evaluates this is not the one who decides whether if it's to approve or not. It's a common pattern to divide responsibilities. And this is a great way because you are not giving the responsibility to a person to approve or reject. This is basically a policy, right? You don't need to give that responsibility to someone. So the decision table, it's at the end a repository of your policy. So someone can get in here, can create and can evaluate this vendor with whatever the scoring is, right? So we're going to put it a high one to see if it passed, and then we're going to test it with a low one. And then you're going to have that decision um, assigned to a policy and a machine and not on a person, right? So this is great for any kind of risk area, and we just choose this one because it's a template already built with a really nice screen that you can reuse for any kind of process as well. So this is not only about the vendor onboarding process that we will see. This is about any kind of risk that you want to do, and this is a great example. It's just to copy if you want it. So look at this one. Look at what we have right now. Look at what we have. We have at this moment a button that says approve vendor or reject, right? Have a look on it. So right now, what this screen has is a section or a button to approve or reject the vendor. That is what this screen has. And we want to really remove this, right? That's what we want to do, right? So let me before submitting this, I'm gonna do a few other changes on the screen. So we are not gonna approve the vendor here with this button. What we are going to do is we're going to pass it through the to the business rule engine. So I'm going to modify the screen just a bit as well. So before continuing to this, let me go here. This is the screen, and we start from this. So we're going to remove this section, right? Right now, we're not going to approve this manually. We're going to leave the machine to do the decision. So I'm going to this one. I'm going to remove this one. Another thing that is important and it makes sense is, for example, these comments are comments, right? So comments, right now they are not denial or not. This is just comment from the people who evaluates this, right? So we're just going to leave it as simple comments, right? And we are going to as well change a bit of the label. And this is something I know it's configured with a visibility rule. So if it wasn't approved by that checkbox that it was in there, it was not going to show. So I'm going to remove that visibility rule. What else do I have in here? Look at this one. Here I have a signature, and this signature as well was configured with a visibility rule. So when you open this template, you're going to find that these elements are going to be available only if you approve or reject. So, but we are tweaking it just a bit, right? I'm going to remove this visibility rule. Look at this one. Here we have the submit and reject. In this case, we are not going to add any reject or anything in this. The only thing we're gonna have is just a submit. So the business rule evaluate this. So, and this one as well has a visibility rule. I'm pretty sure. Yes, I have a visibility rule here. So I'm gonna remove this one, and I think we're cool on this. Publish. Sorry. Perfect. This is already done. Let's have a preview. Let's go for a preview. Risk review. Look at this one. Overall scoring. Yes, I have my comments. Now I have my signature. So, and I have my submit button. So the screen is clean. We remove the decision from here and we hand over the decision to the decision table, right? So where I was in here. Let me just refresh to reload this screen. And let's give it a run. Risk review. And let's give it a good score so we can put this in an approved, right? 5.6 is about 3, so it's past average. It should be approved. Let's add some signature in here and submit. So let's see if it runs, if it works properly, right? Let's submit. Task completed.
I'm not worried. I know it's gonna work.
Let's see. Perfect. Let's give it a second while it executes. We'll refresh this page. The task page. Look at this. Oh, wait. Oh, it should be it should finish because we don't have any task after it, right? So that's why I'm not seeing anything task. So let's go for all requests. Sorry for that. Look at this one.
Hey, software is doing what it's supposed to.
What a beauty. It doesn't have an error, right? Look at this one. Risk approved. Right? Look at this one. Different sanctions, the different elements, the different factors can be calculated in here. Decision, yes. So it runs.
So what do I win for being right?
Oh, what do you win for being right? The next session live, it's gonna be for you.
Oh, great! Yay!
So let's give it a try with a negative option, right? So let's give it a try with a score that is negative or that is not a positive answer. So test decision table. And let's give not that good a score to this. So let's go directly to the risk review and start doing some high results on this. So problems in many areas. It's going to give us low score, right? We don't want to look at this one. Even if you go for below average in this one, it's doubtful, right? We don't want to accept anyone doubtful. And again, it really depends on the industries and the threshold. So that's why a decision table, it makes sense on this one. So this should be rejected. This should be denied. So let's submit. And click on request. This has to be finished by now. And there you go. This is the last test. If we click on no, look at this one. Risk denied. All the different factors are low. And definitely our decision was a no. So the process works fine. We are now sure that this is this is a process that works fine.
We lost your screen there, Emmanuel. Oh, there we go. Got it
Here
back.
I am. Great. So we know that this works. So let's try to put it within the process, right? And with that idea, we can close for today. Okay. So let's go for it.
And just as a reminder, if anybody has any questions or anything, please feel free to put them in. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Please. Thank you very much. So let's go here for this process. Let's close a few screens on this, right? Let's try to go for this way. Great. So maybe this is not gonna look that nice, but I'm just gonna remove this one. Look.
And again, this was done by just extending one of our templates. That's how you started out, right?
Exactly. And the idea with these templates is that you need to start from the scratch, right? So you need to wait for hours to get on a change of a process. And actually the template itself without a table works fine. It's just that we really want to show how we can extend the platform with the features that we already have, right? So it's not just
Well, I
it's not
mean,
just
it works fine, as functional. But if you take this to like a large enterprise, a Fortune 500 company, then it becomes a lot more complex, and that's where this need comes from, right?
exactly, exactly. So either if you are a small company that requires a template, you can just take it, and if you're a big one that requires something more complex, the template is a good baseline, right? So it's really meant for um it's really meant for anyone who wants to get a solution up and run, ready to go in in a small period of time, in just fractions and minutes, right? So the idea is to try to get as quick as possible solution to your hands with this. So, and you're gonna find in the template gallery, you're gonna find a lot of examples on all different kind of industries, on all different kind of processes. So you're gonna have definitely fun in there, and you can definitely contact us through our regular channels. So look at this one. This was the only thing that we need to do right now. Let's finish this one. Oh, we were missing something. Remember, we cloned, that is the original screen, right? We cloned the original screen, and then we put it in that previous process. So we need to change that screen as well, right? Look at this one. So it was pretty easy. We did a development and a small development in one process. We confirmed that everything was ready. Then we move it into the production element, right? So vendor onboarding, risk. I should have it somewhere. Decision table, right? Look at this one. This is the decision table. I'm just going to publish this one. And there you go. This should works as expected. So let's run the vendor onboarding end to end, right? To see how it looks like with a decision table, right? Perfect. So let's get started on this. So how does process work? So let's just walk through pretty quickly on the process. So this is a process where our requester must approve the terms and conditions of onboarding a new vendor, right? So you want that whatever in the company wants to buy something from someone goes for the terms and conditions that are acceptable. Then the system send automatically an email to the vendor for him to fill the form. Whether if you have corrections or not, you can communicate with the vendor again for him to complete. And then at the end, you have to go for a vendor risk assessment. This is where we automate the task. Beforehand was a checkbox or a toggle button where you can just click on it and accept and reject. Right now, as a decision table that we have inserted within it, and then automatically it's gonna approve, reject, and if it's approved, you are gonna, as a vendor, you're gonna receive an email for add some information, and the system is gonna create a new user, and you're gonna receive an email for confirmation, right? That's pretty much how it's gonna look like. And let's run it end to end. So,
And again, if there's any questions about anything that you guys are and gals are seeing, please feel free to put them in the chat.
please, this is vendor onboarding. Vendor onboarding. Just click on this. Here we have it. We start with the terms and conditions. And here I have first screen is going to show you um, the customer journey, all the elements that has to be done for this. So we're going to try to keep it uh, simple during this. So I'm going to add my new company is called Strawberry Fields Inc. Okay, so that's my representative name, Manuel Navarro, and this is my email. So if you have any question, you can send me an email. And here's where this is what is going to happen. So I, as an employee of the company, I look what I send to the vendor a request for him to fill out his information, right? So as as someone who needs someone who needs something from a vendor, I don't need to fill out all that information. He's receiving an email with a link, so the vendor is going to add his own information, and he can do the onboarding steps on his own. So I have just received an email. I just heard about it a few seconds ago. Let me share my email. Just 1 second while this is loading. Here it is. Perfect. Here I have a new vendor onboarding, right? Request update. Dear Strawberry Fields Incorporated, Manuel Navarro is inviting you to register as a vendor in Process Maker. Please visit the following link to complete the application, right? So here I will have a link where I can receive all those sections, right? So I will receive an email with that link so I can continue on that. So
maybe next time we could also do something like changing that part out for an actions by email, because we've got a cool feature like that, right?
Yeah, we can continue working on this. This is as a pretty basic example. It's getting through each of those steps of the requesters and the person who requires. So the vendor will be receiving a link right now as a template right now. The link is not configured. You have to add that link that is automatically generated for the system, but the person is receiving a form where he can just add in here the information of his company. Right here it is, Strawberry Fields Incorporated. Here I can add my company number, define which is the industry, the supply categories, all the different sections, right? So I can add all those elements in here. I'm just gonna keep it short just to show you how this is gonna work. I can add here my background information, which are the products and services that I will be supplying. I can upload here my supporting documents, brochures, ethical codes, sustainability credential, last year revenue, all those elements that we usually ask to any of our vendors to onboard. So let's give it a try. For example, I'm gonna add a PDF in here. So look at this one. We can gather information directly from our vendors with the system. And at the end, the vendor will automatically submit the request. Here, someone is going to approve, right? Before going into a risk review. And then in the risk review, we're going to see how this works. Look at this one, the review vendor form. It's already in there. The template work as you are seeing. Automatically, once you install it, it's going to run that way. A few elements to configure that you're going to find in the instructions of the template. But look at this one, automatically get the information, automatically fill out the information from each of the sections that were added. If we need to have a preview of the files or the elements that are part of the request, you
That's
can do it.
cool.
Definitely. We can say all the information is complete, reject different comments. So I'm gonna add in here all okay, and I'm gonna click on approve. That's the second part, a review task. The third part, this is where the risk analysis come from, right? This is the vendor risk analysis task. If I click on vendor risk assessment, I'm gonna find the screen that we just created with all that information, right? Look at this one. We didn't have to go for the complete process to do the development. We just extracted, and then we added into the process so we can play with it. Here we have the same screen we look at it before, right? Click on risk review. Actually, if you click here on next, the next task, the next tab is going to show we automatically go for the risk review. So if you want to have a look on the vendor background, you can just click here on the breadcrumbs, and here you have the screen that we saw before, right? So let's give it a try. Low risk on this. Let's approve it and continue with the process. This is average and average. So it's not that bad, but good enough. Good enough. Let's approve. All okay. And then submit. So we're expecting that the system automatically continue with the flow, right? And then goes to the creation of the confirmation of the task and so on. So let's have a look on the request. Look at this one. I just received an email. I just received an email. Why I receive an email? Here you have it. Great. Now we move into the next task. The system automatically approved based on the threshold the vendor. And I, as a vendor, receive, look at this one. I, as a vendor, receive my next task, which is add the representative information, right? You don't want to get the information from people if they are not approved by your risk area. This is a rule, this is a general rule of any risk area. You don't gather information from a customer if you are not completely clear that you want to work with them. So once we have gone through the risk assessment, we have received the pending task information, which is basically now that I have cleared you, you can give me your data so I can give you access to my systems, right? And this is the way we communicate with the customer. So he's receiving a link. He's receiving a link. Sorry, it's a problem with my instance. Here I have it. This is it. Almost. Sorry, 1 second. I have it. So, and I will be receiving an email with a nice link where I can just add the information of my representative person within the system. So bear with me. Here it is. So Fernando, this is the last name of the representative, Sanchez. This is the guy who is a representative, right? I'm gonna work phone, my email, corporate contact, SMS, continue, and I'm gonna add here, look at this one. This is a function that we have already in the system. So this screen allows you to request a username from someone who is externally in the organization and confirm if it's available so he can create the user so he can get into the system and request or create new requests or answer question if it's required that someone logs into the platform. Fernando Navarro, look at this one. Perfect. It says okay, it doesn't have the container. That's perfect, don't have a problem. Perfect. Fernando Navarro. It's valid. I can have characters. Look at this one. He's really smart. So Fernando Navarro, I'm going to add my password. and I'm going to create my profile, right? So now I have a full onboarding process. I gathered the user, I gathered all those elements, and he automatically get me into this, right? So let's see which is the last step of the process. In the last step of the process, I should be receiving a confirmation of myself having created an account. Look at this one. Just 0 seconds ago, new vendor onboarding request. Dear Fernando, you have been successfully created your application, right? And then if we go here to the admin, and if you click on users, right? Here you're gonna find the different users that are being created right now. Well, I need to have a look on it, but at the end you need to create. Oh, it's basically here. What is the task? Perfect. This is the last element. This is the summary of all the different actions that we have done, everything that has been approved, these emails, representative to create a vendor user. We have sent a notification and the user is being created, right? So we need to have a look on it. The user is being created and the task has been configured and we send the confirmation email. So yes, that's our vendor onboarding process. What do you think, man?
I think that was awesome, and I think that really shows the value of this latest feature in our summer release. Sorry, I mean spring. Sorry, my head's all about the summer right now because that's where we're focused. So this is already available in our spring release, and it's one of the most awesome features and one of my favorites too. So and it just also shows how DMN now is part of our process suite as well, because that is basically what we were showing is how you take that process template feature, combine that. Let me. I just realized that I'm not on TV. Here we go. And combine that with the power of the templates and the DMN, and it was 1, 2, 3. Just add a task in, change the lines, and that's it. You have a powerful DMN back feature now, and that's all part of our latest summer. I keep saying summer. Our latest spring release. So yeah, I think this was awesome, and thanks very much for all the hard work and effort that you put into this, Manuel. It's very much appreciated, man.
Thank you very much, and thank you for everyone who is seeing us, and looking forward to see you in another session.
And with that, thank you. If you've been loyal enough to stay to here, I know you're already subscribed and you've already liked. So thank you and goodbye.